In the way of the samurai, the greatest enemy is never found on the battlefield. It lives within. Miyamoto Musashi taught that before you seek to control outcomes, rivals or fate, you must first conquer your own mind, body and spirit. The warrior who cannot command his fear, desire, laziness, or ego is already defeated no matter how sharp his blade. Conquer yourself first. The samurai rule for total life control is a doctrine of inner mastery. It demands discipline over emotion, clarity over impulse, and purpose over comfort. When the self is mastered, life itself falls into order. Decisions become precise, actions become calm, and obstacles lose their power. This is not motivation. This is command. The mind is the battlefield that precedes all others. No fortress, no army, no opponent can challenge a warrior as profoundly as the turmoil within. Before a samurai confronts an external enemy, he must confront the inner chaos that lurks in silence. The whisper of fear, the pull of desire, the weight of doubt. To master the mind before the world is to understand that life's true conflicts are invisible. They are fought in the recesses of thought, in the spaces between intention and action. A sword may strike 1,000 enemies, yet if the mind wavers, the warrior is already defeated. This is the first law of mastery: conquer the mind, and all else becomes manageable. A restless mind is like a river over stones. The water is never still, and the stones shift with the current. Thoughts collide, memories resurface unbidden, emotions surge, and judgment becomes clouded. The samurai observes these currents but does not allow them to sweep him away. To master the mind is to cultivate stillness within motion, clarity within complexity. It is not the absence of thought, but the mastery over thought that marks the beginning of true strength. In battle, hesitation can mean death. In life, indecision can mean a lifetime of regret. The mind that is untrained invites distraction and error. The mind that is disciplined becomes a weapon sharper than the finest steel. Musashi teaches that training the mind begins with observation. One must see the self as both warrior and opponent. The ego, pride, and fear that reside within are formidable adversaries, more cunning than any external foe. Each day presents trials not on the field but in the small choices, in the quiet moments, in the subtle urges that seek indulgence. The untrained mind is swayed by comfort, distracted by triviality, and haunted by what cannot be controlled. Yet the disciplined mind turns these moments into lessons. It recognizes the allure of indulgence and chooses restraint. It senses the pull of fear and chooses courage. It measures desire and responds with wisdom. In mastering these inner currents, the samurai gains the power to act decisively, calmly, and unshakably. Meditation, reflection, and disciplined practice are the tools of this mastery. The samurai sits with himself as a teacher sits with a student, observing every thought as it arises. He questions: why do I feel anger? Why does doubt cling to me? Why does desire distract me from my path? These questions are not intellectual exercises, they are weapons against chaos. The warrior who refuses to confront his inner turmoil remains a slave to circumstance, carried by whims, emotions, and fear. But the warrior who faces himself, who names the currents within and trains them, achieves freedom. He can enter any battlefield, physical or mental, without hesitation, without confusion, and without the burden of uncertainty. Discipline of the mind extends beyond contemplation into action. It is not enough to remain calm in thought if one falters in deed. A true samurai aligns intention with movement, aligning the internal world with the external. Decisions become precise because the mind has been sharpened to discern truth from illusion. Emotions are acknowledged but not obeyed, like clouds passing over a mountain peak, present yet irrelevant to the rock-solid summit beneath. By mastering judgment, the warrior can strike at the right moment, retreat with wisdom, and endure trials without surrendering to despair. The mind becomes a compass, unwavering and true. Even amidst chaos, the mind also governs perception. A samurai who masters his thoughts sees reality clearly. He does not project fear onto shadows, nor does he inflate threats beyond their measure. He perceives the patterns of the world, the intentions of others, and the consequences of action. This clarity is a product of mental discipline. Without it, even the strongest blade cannot ensure victory. Without it, even skillful warriors are blind to danger, unable to respond effectively, and easily ensnared by the unexpected. To master the mind is to sharpen the lens through which the world is understood, transforming confusion into strategy, chaos into opportunity, and doubt into certainty. Musashi also instructs that mastery of the mind requires detachment. One must act without attachment to outcome, without fear of loss, without longing for praise. The warrior who clings to expectation is ensnared by disappointment and hesitation. The mind that is free from attachment moves with agility, responding to change rather than resisting it. It is a mind that flows like water, bending around obstacles, finding openings, and striking with precision. To master the mind before the world is to cultivate this fluidity, to act without obstruction from the self, and to move as circumstance demands without panic or regret. In daily life, this principle manifests in vigilance over habits, thoughts, and impulses. The samurai does not allow distractions to dictate action. He cultivates routines that strengthen the mind: meditation at dawn, study of strategy, reflection on failures, and deliberate engagement with tasks. Each action is a rehearsal for mastery, a training of perception, discipline, and intention. When the body obeys the mind, and the mind governs the self, the samurai achieves control over circumstance. Life's battles, once overwhelming, become opportunities for demonstration of inner strength. Finally, mastery of the mind is inseparable from understanding mortality and impermanence. The samurai contemplates death not with fear, but with clarity, recognizing that life is fleeting and that hesitation is the enemy of purpose. By embracing impermanence, the mind gains freedom from trivial anxieties, from petty disputes, and from the illusions of permanence that cloud judgment. Death is not avoided but integrated as a teacher, guiding the warrior to focus on what is essential, to act with decisiveness, and to value each moment as a chance to sharpen the self. In mastering the mind, one masters perspective, purpose, and life itself. Thus, the first victory in the samurai's path is always internal. The outer world may challenge with storms, enemies, and misfortune, but the mind that is disciplined, calm, and aware stands as a fortress. Master the mind before the world, and no force can command your spirit. Master the mind, and clarity, precision, and strength flow naturally into every act. Master the mind, and the self becomes unshakable, the world navigable, and life itself an extension of disciplined purpose. This is the essence of the samurai's rule. The battle within precedes all battles without, and victory begins in silence, with the mind as both weapon and shield. Discipline is not a chain, nor a burden, nor a task imposed by others. Many confuse the structure of duty with confinement, believing that to live freely is to act without restraint. The samurai knows otherwise. True freedom is born not from chaos, but from mastery of the self. A mind and body disciplined through constant training, habit, and self-control moves with certainty through the world, unshaken by circumstance, unhindered by indecision, and undistracted by desire. To live without discipline is to be a leaf in the wind, tossed by every gust of emotion, whim, or fortune. To cultivate discipline is to anchor oneself, to stand firm in the storm, and to act with deliberate purpose. Musashi teaches that the warrior who abandons discipline may achieve fleeting victories, but they are hollow, fragile, and dependent upon fortune. Skill alone cannot withstand weakness of character. A sword without the hand that guides it is a toy. Talent without discipline is no more than potential wasted. Discipline is the forge upon which the spirit is tempered, the anvil upon which strength is hammered into lasting form. When the mind is disciplined, it becomes an instrument that can focus, endure, and execute with precision. When the body is disciplined, it obeys instinctively, resilient in fatigue, and steadfast in adversity. Discipline creates a harmony between mind, body, and spirit. From this harmony emerges the freedom that men seek yet seldom find. The path of discipline begins with small, deliberate actions. The samurai does not wait for greatness to appear. He cultivates it daily through repetition, attention, and unwavering commitment. Rising before dawn, practicing the sword, meditating on principles, and attending to tasks without delay are not burdens. They are the tools that shape character. Each act performed with consistency and intent becomes a brick in the foundation of mastery. Over time, the accumulation of these disciplined choices forms a structure that cannot be shaken by misfortune or temptation. In this way, discipline is not limitation, but the unlocking of potential. Through adherence to principle, the samurai achieves the ability to act decisively when opportunity or crisis demands. Discipline also demands self-examination. A warrior cannot simply follow rules blindly or imitate another without understanding. True discipline is rooted in awareness, in seeing the self with unflinching honesty, in acknowledging weaknesses and confronting them without excuse. The unexamined mind drifts, the untrained spirit bends before the first challenge. Musashi instructs the student to observe all impulses, desires, and distractions as if they were enemies in formation. Each temptation overcome, each habit corrected, and each lapse addressed strengthens the inner citadel. Only through this continuous vigilance does discipline transform into freedom, the freedom to act, to endure, to resist, and to excel without hesitation. It is said that discipline is often mistaken for rigidity, yet the samurai knows that true discipline is fluid. A rigid mind is brittle, prone to fracture under pressure. A disciplined mind, however, adapts while maintaining principle. This is the paradox of the warrior. To act freely, one must first constrain oneself. To move decisively, one must follow rules and routines. To win without obstruction, one must obey a higher order within. Freedom without structure is illusion, discipline without flexibility is weakness. The samurai's life demonstrates that the most effective discipline is both firm and responsive, a guiding force that channels energy rather than suppressing it. The practice of discipline extends to all areas of life. Diet, sleep, training, study, and reflection are all arenas for self-control. Every choice, from the mundane to the profound, tests the warrior's commitment. A meal taken in excess or a day spent in idleness weakens the body and dulls the mind. Conversely, measured effort, thoughtful consumption, and deliberate action strengthen the self. Musashi emphasizes that the way of the warrior is total. One cannot claim mastery in battle if weakness dominates other areas of life. Discipline is the thread that weaves together the fabric of excellence, creating a life in which the samurai moves through the world with clarity, power, and autonomy. Discipline is also the foundation for courage. Fear thrives where the mind is untrained, exploiting uncertainty and hesitation. The undisciplined warrior is paralyzed by doubt, succumbs to panic, and yields to pressure. Discipline strengthens resolve, allowing the mind to face danger with measured thought, the body to endure strain without faltering, and the spirit to rise above the instinct to flee. Freedom, in this sense, is inseparable from courage, the ability to act when fear arises, the capacity to hold the line when chaos surrounds, and the clarity to choose the correct course even when the outcome is uncertain. The samurai's victories are born not solely of skill, but of the disciplined courage that enables decisive action under duress. A disciplined life requires sacrifice, yet these sacrifices are not losses, they are investments. Pleasure delayed, indulgence restrained, and comfort forsaken are not deprivations, they are steps toward mastery. The samurai who spares effort in training is denied power in battle. The student who avoids rigor in study is left vulnerable in knowledge. The mind untrained in restraint is enslaved by impulse. Discipline is a tax paid willingly, not begrudgingly, with the return being freedom in action, clarity in judgment, and independence from the unpredictable whims of the world. The reward is not immediate gratification, but enduring capability, a state of being in which life's challenges are met with unshakable composure. Musashi also teaches that discipline is the root of adaptability. A mind constrained by habit and weakness cannot respond to change. A mind disciplined in thought, action, and perception flows naturally with circumstance. The samurai moves like water, responsive, deliberate, and unimpeded. Discipline sharpens awareness, uns instinct, and aligns action with principle. With these tools, the warrior can confront any opponent, any challenge, and any situation with confidence. Freedom, therefore, is not the absence of constraint, but the mastery of it, the ability to act with precision and confidence in any scenario, born from preparation, vigilance, and unwavering self-command. Furthermore, discipline fosters mastery over time. Life's victories are rarely instantaneous. They are accumulated through patience, repetition, and perseverance. The undisciplined abandon goals at the first difficulty. The disciplined endure, refining skill, understanding nuance, and strengthening resolve. Time becomes an ally rather than a threat. The samurai who follows a path of disciplined growth harnesses the invisible power of incremental improvement, turning small, consistent actions into formidable competence. In this way, discipline transforms effort into achievement, struggle into skill, and consistency into freedom. Musashi instructs that discipline must be holistic. Strength without wisdom leads to arrogance. Knowledge without action is impotent. A disciplined warrior balances the cultivation of body, mind, and spirit. Martial skill is sharpened, study of strategy is pursued, and the spirit is tempered through meditation, reflection, and confrontation with the self. Only in this balanced cultivation does freedom truly emerge, for the individual is no longer enslaved by deficiency in any realm. The mind is clear, the body resilient, and the spirit unwavering. Such a samurai is free in thought, decisive in action, and impervious to chaos. Ultimately, discipline is freedom because it liberates the self from external and internal masters alike. Without discipline, men are subject to whims, fortune, and impulse. With discipline, they become sovereign over their lives, capable of shaping reality rather than being shaped by it. The samurai understands that freedom is not the absence of rules, but the mastery of them. It is the internal order that grants power to act externally. To live without discipline is to live in servitude to circumstance. To live with discipline is to move through the world as one who commands it. The way of the samurai teaches that every day is an opportunity to reinforce discipline, that each moment of adherence to principle strengthens autonomy. Every morning of deliberate action, every decision made with intent, and every challenge met with composure adds to the fortress of freedom. This is the paradox and the truth of the warrior's path. True freedom is born not of indulgence, but of discipline. True power rises not from chaos, but from order, and true mastery over life comes not from chance, but from the unwavering cultivation of self-command. In this understanding, discipline is no longer a task imposed, it is a liberation earned. The warrior who embraces it finds life less chaotic, action more precise, and spirit unburdened. He walks freely in the world, guided not by fear, desire, or whim, but by the steadfast hand of cultivated self-mastery. The mind that is disciplined, the body that is trained, and the spirit that is resolved move together as one. Such is the freedom Musashi speaks of, the freedom that is not given, but claimed through rigorous adherence to the way, through persistent effort, and through the quiet conquest of the self. In all things, discipline is the key that unlocks life itself. The samurai who masters it moves with the certainty of water flowing down a riverbed, unyielding, unstoppable, and inevitable. Through discipline, the self becomes a fortress, life a canvas for purposeful action, and freedom a reality that no force can undermine. To follow the path of the warrior is to understand that the chains one forges upon oneself are not bonds of servitude, but instruments of liberation. Discipline is freedom, and freedom is the reward of those willing to command themselves above all else. The warrior who cannot detach from ego and fear carries chains invisible to the eye but crushing to the spirit. These are the enemies that cannot be slain with steel, yet they dictate the outcome of every battle, every decision, and every life. Ego inflates the self, blinding the mind to reality. It whispers of imagined superiority and demands recognition, approval, and conquest. Fear, by contrast, shrinks the spirit, narrowing vision and clouding judgment. It is the anticipation of pain, loss, or failure, and its presence alone can paralyze a man. The samurai understands that mastery over the self begins with the mastery of these two forces, for they are more dangerous than any external adversary. To conquer the world, one must first confront the self, stripping away pride and dispelling fear. Only then does clarity arise, and action becomes precise, measured, and unstoppable. Ego is a subtle adversary. It is not always loud or obvious. It can hide behind confidence, ambition, or even virtue. It persuades the warrior that he is more capable than he is, that the world must bend to his will, or that his victories are owed to skill alone rather than preparation and circumstance. Ego creates distraction, obscures mistakes, and leads to overconfidence. The samurai does not deny skill or achievement, but he recognizes that self-importance is a trap. To detach from ego is not to destroy confidence, but to balance it with humility. It is to see oneself as a part of the world rather than its center, to acknowledge flaws as opportunities for refinement rather than threats to pride, and to act from principle rather than vanity. Ego, when left unchecked, blinds the warrior. Detachment from it opens the mind to reality, and through reality comes true power. Fear is equally insidious. It creeps in as hesitation, doubt, or avoidance. It magnifies threats, real or imagined, and erodes the resolve necessary for decisive action. A warrior consumed by fear sees enemies larger than they are, obstacles taller than they are, and challenges more insurmountable than they are. Fear fractures judgment, slows reaction, and forces retreat. Musashi teaches that fear is natural, it cannot be wished away. To deny it is to invite its quiet betrayal. The true path is to acknowledge fear, to examine its roots, and to act in spite of it. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it, the ability to recognize danger, measure risk, and proceed with intention. In this mastery, fear becomes a tool, a measure of caution, and a guide rather than a jailer. The process of detaching from ego and fear begins with observation. The warrior must watch the mind as it reacts to challenge, success, and threat. When pride swells or anxiety rises, it must be noted without judgment. Ego and fear are not eliminated through denial, they are tamed through awareness. The samurai sits with himself as a teacher sits with a pupil, observing thoughts and emotions as they arise, analyzing their origin and influence. This is the cultivation of perception. By seeing clearly the influence of ego and fear, the warrior gains the first measure of control. He becomes aware of the adversary within before confronting the adversary without. Detachment also requires discipline in action. It is not enough to recognize ego or fear. One must act as if they do not govern behavior. The samurai trains to act decisively in the midst of pride, disappointment, and anxiety, moving with precision even when the heart trembles. Every movement in training, every decision in strategy, every choice in life is a rehearsal in detachment. The warrior practices performing without attachment to outcome, without expectation of recognition, and without indulgence in emotion. In doing so, the mind becomes unclouded, the body responsive, and the spirit unburdened. Detachment does not remove danger, it removes hesitation. It allows the warrior to strike with clarity, defend with composure, and endure with patience. Humility is the weapon against ego. The samurai who recognizes the vastness of knowledge, the skill of others, and the inevitability of circumstance bows internally to the greater flow of life. This is not submission but alignment. The mind that is free from inflated self-importance sees opportunity where arrogance sees threat. It learns from failure, listens to counsel, and respects the balance of forces in the world. Ego binds the mind to illusion, humility opens it to reality. The detachment from ego is therefore both a shield and a sword. It protects against misjudgment and allows for correct action in any circumstance. Fear, when detached from the mind, becomes a guide rather than a master. The samurai measures danger not with dread, but with observation. He does not rush blindly, nor does he falter unnecessarily. Awareness of fear allows calculation, prudence, and readiness. The presence of fear indicates a threshold, a point of potential growth, a challenge to overcome. In confronting fear repeatedly, the warrior trains the mind to remain calm under pressure, the body to respond without hesitation, and the spirit to remain steady regardless of circumstance. Detachment does not erase fear, it transforms it into strength. The practice of detachment extends to all areas of life. The samurai must act in commerce, in conversation, in training, and in battle with the same principles. Ego may tempt him to boast, to dominate, or to pursue vain recognition. Fear may tempt him to retreat, avoid, or compromise principle. In every moment, he tests himself against these forces, observing their influence, questioning their validity, and acting independently of their sway. Daily life becomes a battlefield not of swords but of the spirit. Every choice becomes a test of clarity, every challenge an opportunity for mastery. Detachment is cultivated in routine as much as in crisis, for habit shapes the mind and prepares it for the unforeseen. Musashi emphasizes that detachment is not indifference. To act with detachment is not to ignore consequences or abandon responsibility. It is to act without surrendering judgment to pride or fear. A detached warrior still cares for his craft, his allies, and his mission. He simply does not allow ego or fear to dictate how he responds. His actions are precise because they are guided by principle, not by emotion. His mind is clear because it is unentangled by the illusions of self-importance or the distortions of dread. In this way, detachment amplifies effectiveness rather than diminishes engagement. Detachment is further strengthened through reflection and meditation. The samurai contemplates victories and failures with equal clarity, seeking not validation, but understanding. Success is examined for lessons rather than praise. Failure is examined for improvement rather than despair. Meditation cultivates insight into the impermanence of circumstance, the inevitability of challenge, and the transient nature of praise and criticism. Ego and fear lose their grip when the mind internalizes the constant flow of life and recognizes its fleeting nature. From this understanding emerges calmness in action, precision in strategy, and resilience in adversity. In battle, the advantage of detachment is profound. The samurai who is free from ego does not overestimate his opponent or underestimate himself. He sees the situation as it is. He does not hesitate to strike when necessary, nor does he cling to a failed strategy out of pride. Similarly, the warrior who does not succumb to fear does not falter under pressure. His movements are deliberate, his decisions measured, and his presence commanding. Detachment allows for adaptability. It allows the mind to read the flow of combat, anticipate movements, and respond with speed and accuracy. Ego and fear unchecked would cloud perception, slow reaction, and distort judgment. Detachment clears the lens, aligning thought, body, and intent. Detachment also informs relationships and alliances. The samurai engages with peers and rivals without jealousy, envy, or resentment. Ego, when detached, does not demand superiority. Fear, when detached, does not breed suspicion or avoidance. Interactions are guided by principle, respect, and clarity. In this way, detachment extends beyond the self, influencing the environment and relationships, creating harmony, respect, and effectiveness in action. The detached warrior becomes a stabilizing force, not because he controls others, but because he controls himself. Musashi's teachings suggest that detachment is cultivated through continual practice. It is not a state achieved once, but a skill honed over a lifetime. Every challenge presents an opportunity to detach from ego and fear, every failure a lesson in humility, every moment of success a test of resolve. The samurai must practice self-discipline, reflection, meditation, and deliberate action consistently. Only through persistent engagement does detachment become instinctive, embedded in thought and behavior, and available at all times, whether in battle, in study, or in life. Ultimately, detachment from ego and fear is the foundation of mastery. A warrior unbound by pride or dread sees the world with clarity, acts with precision, and endures with resilience. His mind is steady, his actions deliberate, and his spirit unshakable. He moves through life as a force aligned with reality, not distracted by illusion or ensnared by anxiety. The samurai who practices detachment achieves freedom, for he is no longer controlled by internal adversaries. His strength comes not from brute force alone, but from the serenity of the mind, the clarity of judgment, and the courage to act without surrender to ego or fear. This path is neither easy nor swift. It demands awareness, discipline, and courage. It requires the warrior to confront himself daily, to examine motives and emotions, and to act independently of the distortions of self-importance and dread. But the reward is profound mastery of the self, clarity in action, resilience in adversity, and freedom in every step. To detach from ego and fear is to walk the warrior's path, to see the world clearly, and to live with precision, strength, and serenity. In this way, Musashi teaches that the greatest victories are those unseen, fought quietly within the mind, and won through the discipline to rise above ego and fear. Action without calm is chaos. Precision without calm is fragile. The samurai understands that the mind must guide the body, and the body must obey the mind without hesitation. To act with calm precision is to align thought, intention, and movement so that each step, each strike, and each decision flows naturally from discipline and awareness. In battle, a single error born from haste, impulse, or agitation can mean defeat or death. In life, similar missteps born from emotional turbulence can squander opportunity, weaken relationships, and cloud judgment. Calm is not mere stillness, it is clarity under pressure, mastery over instinct, and composure in the face of uncertainty. Precision is not mechanical repetition, it is the articulation of perfect timing, the fulfillment of intention, and the execution of knowledge through practice. Together, calm and precision form the hallmark of the warrior, the foundation of mastery, and the path to unshakable effectiveness in both life and combat. The mind that is calm is like a pond undisturbed by wind. Thoughts settle, reflections deepen, and perception sharpens. In contrast, agitation stirs confusion, clouds judgment, and disrupts focus. The samurai trains to maintain equilibrium even amidst the clamor of conflict. This requires recognition of internal turbulence, the surges of anger, fear, or desire that seek to dictate action. To act calmly is not to suppress emotion, but to observe it, understand it, and choose a response independent of its fluctuations. When the mind remains steady, the body responds naturally, strategy unfolds clearly, and action becomes inevitable. The untrained mind acts reactively, the disciplined mind acts decisively. Precision arises from preparation and repetition. A blade strikes accurately not because of luck, but because the warrior has trained tirelessly, repeating movements until muscle, mind, and instinct are inseparable. Similarly, decision-making becomes precise when experience, reflection, and discipline converge. Each thought, each motion, each choice is guided by principle rather than impulse. Precision requires patience, it cannot be rushed, nor can it be feigned. It is earned through practice and proven through action. The samurai's movements appear effortless, yet they are the product of countless hours of focused effort, observation, and refinement. To act with precision is to translate mastery into motion, knowledge into execution, and intention into reality. Musashi emphasizes that calm precision is inseparable from awareness. The warrior must perceive the battlefield, the opponent, and himself simultaneously. Every shift of weight, every subtle gesture, every flicker of movement carries information. To act with calm precision is to process this information instantly, make decisions without hesitation. The mind and body become one instrument, guided by observation, sharpened by training, and honed by experience. Agitation disrupts this unity, fear scatters perception, haste blurs judgment, calm restores it, precision channels it. The disciplined warrior cultivates both, recognizing that mastery arises from their combination. Calm precision extends beyond physical combat into all spheres of life. The samurai approaches tasks, interactions, and challenges with measured intent. A conversation is handled with attentiveness rather than reaction. Decisions are made after careful observation rather than impulsive judgment. Tasks are executed fully rather than haphazardly. Each act becomes a demonstration of the harmony between mind and body, awareness and action, intention and execution. Precision ensures effectiveness, calm ensures clarity. Together they create an unbroken line of competence and reliability that extends from the battlefield to daily existence. Musashi teaches that haste is the enemy of precision. A mind or body that acts without consideration, driven by emotion or desire, creates error. In training, the warrior practices slowly, deliberately, refining each motion, observing each decision, and internalizing correct execution. Over time, these deliberate actions transform into instinctive responses, precise under pressure and unshaken by stress. The samurai's calm is not passivity, it is readiness. The body poised, the mind attentive, the spirit undistracted. The warrior waits not in hesitation, but in prepared anticipation. The moment demands action, and the trained warrior delivers it with flawless execution. Control of breath, posture, and focus is critical to calm precision. Agitation disrupts breathing, which disturbs movement. Tension distorts posture, which weakens technique. Distraction scatters focus, which diminishes clarity. The samurai cultivates awareness of these elements, training the body to remain flexible, relaxed, and responsive, while the mind maintains full attention on the present. Breath becomes a metronome for motion, posture becomes a channel for force, focus becomes a lens for observation. In this way, calmness is maintained and precision becomes natural, the result of disciplined alignment of all facets of self. Calm precision is also inseparable from timing. The warrior recognizes that strength alone does not guarantee success. Timing determines the effectiveness of every strike, the impact of every decision, and the outcome of every encounter. Acting too early or too late renders skill useless. The samurai's calm allows him to sense the proper moment, to delay instinctual reaction until the opportunity is perfect, and to strike with maximum effect. Precision ensures that when the moment arrives, action is not hesitant, flawed, or wasted. Together, calm and timing produce inevitability. The warrior's influence on the battlefield or in life is absolute, guided by clarity and executed with mastery. The detachment of the mind from distraction is another pillar of calm precision. Ego, fear, desire, and expectation are all forces that cloud judgment and disrupt action. To maintain clarity, the warrior observes these forces without attachment, allowing them to pass while preserving focus on the task at hand. The mind that is free from internal interference can process multiple elements simultaneously. Environment, opponent, strategy, self, without faltering. In this state, action flows like a river, uninterrupted by turbulence. The disciplined warrior learns that calm precision is not a natural gift, but a cultivated skill, honed through years of awareness, reflection, and deliberate practice. Musashi also notes that calm precision is strengthened by simplicity. The warrior who complicates strategy, movement, or thought invites error. Complexity slows the mind, confuses the body, and fractures attention. The samurai seeks the simplest effective path, the most direct technique, the most essential principle. Simplicity does not mean weakness, it means mastery of essentials and elimination of distraction. A simple, precise strike executed calmly is far more powerful than a flurry of uncontrolled motion. A simple, decisive plan, acted upon with clarity, outperforms convoluted strategy cluttered with doubt. Calm precision thrives in simplicity, guided by understanding rather than elaboration. Endurance is also intertwined with calm precision. Battles are rarely brief, challenges rarely resolve instantly. The warrior must maintain composure over long durations, sustaining focus and clarity under fatigue and stress. Training instills the ability to preserve calm and sustain precision, even when the body and mind are strained. Each repetition, each test, each encounter reinforces this endurance, preparing the samurai for the inevitable demands of life and conflict. The ability to remain unshaken, decisive, and effective over time distinguishes the master from the novice. Furthermore, calm precision allows for adaptability. The samurai does not act rigidly or mechanically. He responds to circumstances with flexibility while preserving intention. Observation informs action, and calm allows the mind to see clearly, undistracted by fear or desire. Precision ensures that response is effective, efficient, and deliberate. Adaptation is guided by principle, not impulse. Action is fluid, not chaotic. This dynamic balance of awareness, composure, and exactitude is the essence of the warrior's power. Musashi emphasizes that calm precision is also a form of mastery over self. The warrior who maintains composure under stress, acts decisively despite uncertainty, and executes tasks flawlessly demonstrates command over body, mind, and spirit. This internal mastery extends outward, influencing the environment, guiding allies, and intimidating adversaries. Calm precision is visible not only in physical action but in demeanor, communication, and presence. The samurai moves as one in control of all forces, internal and external, achieving authority without aggression, command without domination, and influence without chaos. Ultimately, to act with calm precision is to harmonize all aspects of self. It is to cultivate awareness, discipline, timing, simplicity, endurance, and adaptability, and to integrate them into each action. The mind perceives, the body obeys, and the spirit guides. Emotion is observed but does not dictate, circumstance is assessed but does not overwhelm, opportunity is seized but without haste. Each movement is deliberate, each decision intentional, and each strike measured. Calm and precision are inseparable, each reinforcing the other, creating a state of mastery in which the warrior navigates the world with certainty, effectiveness, and grace. The reward of calm precision is not merely survival or success. It is the transformation of action into art, of motion into expression, and of life into mastery. The warrior who embodies calm precision commands respect, achieves purpose, and navigates life's challenges with clarity and skill. He is undistracted by pride, unshaken by fear, and unwavering in execution. Every step, every strike, and every decision resonates with intention, demonstrating the integration of mind, body, and spirit. In all things, calm precision is both a path and a goal. It is forged through discipline, reflection, and experience. It is tested in battle, applied in life, and reinforced in daily practice. The samurai's mastery of this principle ensures that action is never reckless, that intention is never lost, and that the self is always aligned with reality. To act with calm precision is to move through the world as one who understands its rhythm, respects its laws, and commands its challenges with unwavering clarity. In this way, the warrior becomes unstoppable, not through strength alone, but through the serene mastery of thought, intention, and motion, achieving effectiveness that transcends circumstance and embodies the very essence of the samurai way. The true battlefield of the samurai is not always outside, among enemies and swords. It begins within. Each day presents a duel against the self, a contest in which victory is measured not by conquest of others, but by mastery over one's own mind, body, and spirit. Daily self-combat is the deliberate struggle against weakness, distraction, and indulgence. It is the ongoing confrontation with habits, fears, desires, and the ego that seeks to dictate thought and action. The warrior who engages in this constant inner battle achieves a kind of sovereignty that no external force can challenge. To cultivate total control, the samurai recognizes that each day is a new battlefield, each moment a skirmish, and each decision a test of discipline and resolve. Those who neglect these internal confrontations find themselves enslaved by circumstance, while those who meet them with vigilance and courage achieve freedom, clarity, and mastery. Self-combat begins with awareness. The warrior must know himself intimately, his strengths, weaknesses, fears, desires, and tendencies. This is not a fleeting acknowledgement but a rigorous, continuous examination. Every thought is observed, every impulse questioned, every emotion measured against principle. Self-knowledge is the foundation of control because one cannot overcome that which is unknown. The samurai approaches this task with honesty and rigor, resisting the comfort of denial, the seduction of excuse, and the illusions of pride. Each day is an opportunity to refine understanding, to illuminate the shadows of the self, and to prepare for the challenges that lie ahead. Awareness transforms the ordinary into a mirror, reflecting the state of the mind and revealing areas in need of discipline. The next stage of self-combat is discipline in action. Knowledge alone is insufficient, it must manifest in behavior. The warrior tests himself through daily practices that cultivate strength, patience, and focus. Rising at dawn, engaging in physical training, practicing martial technique, studying strategy, and meditating are not arbitrary rituals. They are exercises in self-mastery. Each repetition, each deliberate choice, and each disciplined act is a confrontation with laziness, indulgence, and distraction. Through these daily confrontations, the samurai strengthens willpower, owns skill, and reinforces the alignment between intention and execution. Habit becomes a tool, and repetition becomes a method of internal warfare, forging the mind and body into instruments of precision and endurance. Daily self-combat also involves confronting fear directly. Fear, though natural, threatens to undermine action and cloud judgment. The samurai meets fear repeatedly, testing resolve and measuring courage. Small acts of confrontation, acknowledging anxiety, embracing challenge, enduring discomfort, train the spirit to remain steadfast. Over time, fear becomes less a tyrant and more a guide, indicating thresholds that demand growth. By facing fear each day, the warrior gains resilience, clarity, and the ability to act decisively even under pressure. Self-combat transforms fear into a teacher rather than a jailer, allowing the samurai to operate with calm confidence in every domain of life. Equally important is the conquest of desire. Indulgence, attachment, and craving can dominate the mind if left unchecked. Daily self-combat involves restraint, moderation, and the conscious choice to act in alignment with principle rather than immediate gratification. Every desire tested and controlled is a small victory. Every habit corrected is a triumph of will over impulse. Musashi emphasizes that the untrained mind is distracted by fleeting pleasures and misled by comfort, while the disciplined mind preserves energy, focus, and intention for what truly matters. The samurai recognizes that mastery arises not from satisfaction of desire, but from mastery over it, and that this mastery must be exercised consistently every day in acts both large and small. Ego is another opponent in daily self-combat. Pride, arrogance, and attachment to recognition distort perception and weaken judgment. The warrior must observe the ego, recognize its influence, and act independently of its commands. Each day provides opportunities to practice humility in accepting criticism, acknowledging error, or subordinating personal pride to the demands of principle. Detachment from ego allows clarity, adaptability, and effectiveness to emerge. The samurai's victories are not contingent upon praise or status but upon the quiet competence that arises from self-discipline. By confronting ego daily, the warrior ensures that actions are guided by truth and principle, not by vanity or desire for recognition. Consistency is the force multiplier in self-combat. One cannot achieve mastery through occasional effort or sporadic discipline. It is the relentless, repeated engagement with self that forges true control. Daily practice, reflection, and confrontation with weakness create cumulative power. Small acts of discipline, performed consistently, yield enormous results over time. A single lapse may be forgiven, but repeated victories over self gradually build a fortress of resilience. Musashi likens the warrior to one who polishes a blade daily. Only through continual effort does sharpness endure, and only through persistent self-combat does total control emerge. Consistency transforms effort into skill, struggle into strength, and routine into mastery. Observation and reflection are also key components. The warrior evaluates each day, noting successes, failures, and patterns of thought or behavior that require adjustment. Reflection transforms experience into knowledge and knowledge into wisdom. By analyzing mistakes without ego, acknowledging fear without shame, and reinforcing disciplined action without complacency, the samurai strengthens his command over self. Each reflection is a duel with weakness. Each correction is a step toward autonomy. Daily self-combat is therefore not merely physical or procedural, but deeply intellectual and spiritual, encompassing all aspects of the self. The samurai also engages in deliberate preparation. Anticipating challenges, planning action, and visualizing responses are exercises in controlling both mind and circumstance. Self-combat involves not merely reacting, but preempting weakness before it manifests. By envisioning difficulty and rehearsing action, the warrior strengthens confidence, reduces hesitation, and aligns body and mind for immediate execution. Preparation, repetition, and rehearsal are daily acts of internal warfare, cultivating foresight and mastery over the unpredictable nature of life. The disciplined mind acts with clarity because it has encountered the possibility of failure repeatedly and has trained to overcome it. Endurance is an essential companion to daily self-combat. The body must obey the mind, and the mind must sustain focus over time. Physical training, mental exercises, and spiritual reflection develop the stamina necessary to maintain control under stress. Fatigue, pain, and distraction are tests of resolve, and confronting them daily builds resilience. Musashi emphasizes that mastery is forged through continued exposure to challenge. The warrior who avoids difficulty is untested, and the warrior who embraces it grows ever stronger. Daily self-combat conditions endurance, teaching the mind to persist, the body to respond, and the spirit to remain unbroken despite trials. Adaptability emerges from the practice of daily self-combat. The warrior who confronts fear, ego, desire, and weakness every day develops a fluidity of mind and body. Challenges are no longer overwhelming. Adversity becomes an opportunity for demonstration of skill and judgment. By engaging in internal battles routinely, the samurai gains the ability to respond spontaneously, effectively, and decisively to unforeseen circumstances. Daily combat with self ensures that control is not rigid but dynamic, precise yet flexible, consistent yet responsive. The disciplined warrior is prepared for anything because he has honed his abilities in the crucible of everyday struggle. Musashi also stresses that total control is the product of cumulative small victories. Every choice resisted, every impulse restrained, every habit corrected, and every fear confronted contributes to the expansion of mastery. Control is not instantaneous, it is earned incrementally through repeated, deliberate engagement with self. Each day becomes a chapter in the life of the warrior, each act of discipline a brick in the fortress of command. Total control is the culmination of these unseen victories, the invisible force that guides action, informs judgment, and ensures effectiveness in every endeavor. The ultimate reward of daily self-combat is freedom. The warrior who confronts himself daily is no longer enslaved by weakness, desire. He moves through life with clarity, intention, and authority. Circumstances do not dictate his actions, challenges do not disrupt his focus, setbacks do not diminish his resolve. By mastering the self through daily combat, the samurai attains autonomy over mind, body, and spirit, and in doing so exerts influence over life itself. The external world becomes navigable because the internal world is secure, disciplined, and resolved. Daily self-combat is also a teacher of humility and perspective. Each day reveals the limits of ability, the presence of flaws, and the persistence of weakness. By confronting these honestly, the warrior cultivates humility without surrender, awareness without fear, and resolve without arrogance. The disciplined self is both strong and adaptable, firm yet flexible, aware yet unburdened by ego. This balance enables mastery over action and thought, over circumstance and reaction, and over life and fate. In practice, daily self-combat is rigorous yet simple. Rise early, train body and mind, engage in reflection, resist distraction, confront fear, and act with principle. Repetition, observation, and correction transform routine into mastery. The disciplined warrior understands that every day is a microcosm of life's challenges. Each small battle prepares for greater conflict. Each moment of self-control builds the foundation of total command. By confronting oneself continuously, the samurai achieves not fleeting victory but lasting sovereignty over self and circumstance. Ultimately, total control arises not from force alone, not from luck, not from talent, but from the relentless practice of internal warfare. The samurai who engages in daily self-combat aligns mind, body, and spirit, refines skill through repetition, confronts fear and desire with courage, and tempers ego with humility. In this ongoing practice, mastery is born, clarity is achieved, freedom is realized. Daily self-combat is both method and path, challenge and reward, struggle and triumph. It is the essence of the warrior's life, the foundation of unshakable strength, and the key to commanding one's own fate. Through the unbroken practice of self-combat, the warrior becomes the master of himself, and in mastering himself, the world itself becomes navigable. Each day offers a new duel, each moment an opportunity, each decision a test. Victory in these daily battles accumulates silently, yet its effects manifest visibly in precision, clarity, and resilience. The samurai's life, therefore, is a continuous battlefield, not against others, but against weakness, distraction, and complacency. By confronting these enemies daily, the warrior achieves total control, the ultimate triumph of the self over circumstance, fear, desire, and ego. The practice is never complete, yet each day of engagement strengthens mastery, hones judgment, and brings the samurai closer to the ultimate ideal of unshakable command over life itself.